Joining us now from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, are Tribune-Review reporter Mike Wereschagin and photojournalist Justin Merriman. They join us now to talk about Field of Honor, How Flight 93 Inspired a Nation, a book by the staff of the Tribune-Review. And gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Well, Mike, the book tells the story of Flight 93 in photos and in the words of families, rescuers, and eyewitnesses. As the nation marks the 10th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, how should we remember the passengers and crew aboard Flight 93 that day?
Well, I think we should remember them for what they did and for what it meant. They saved a lot of lives that day, and they did so at the expense of their own. It was an act of heroism.
Now, Justin, the book chronicles the story and actions of each of the 40 passengers and crew members aboard Flight 93. What do you think specifically sparked these men and women to attempt to take back that cockpit from the terrorists?
Well, I think that they realized that there was no hope for them except for to try and take back the plane and either land it safely or not. And this was the first battleground on this war on terror.
Now, Mike, shortly after September 11th, Todd Beamer, with his famous "Let's roll" line, seemed to become the face of Flight 93. But as the book demonstrates, there were many more heroes on board that day. Is there a story about a lesser-known individual that perhaps you think the public should know more about?
You know, after working on this project and after reading this book, I think these are all stories worth remembering. Each of them contributed to their family, to their community, to their country. And I think it's important that they all maintain their place in our collective memory. I mean, it really is, it was an amazing act, and it was a selfless act, and it deserves its place in our history.
Justin, as a photojournalist, you've continuously recorded the 9/11 related developments at Shanksville and photographed U.S. soldiers back home, as well as countless military funerals. You've also been to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Pakistan. How do you think that we as a nation have changed in the past decade?
Wow, as a nation, in the last 10 years, we've really changed. I think that 9/11 forced us to look at things a lot differently.
Well, maybe Mike can help you out. Mike, do you want to weigh in?
We're an insulated country. And what this showed us is that we're not. And I think it affected our character in a way. We are, I think, a little more aware of what's happening in the world and how it can affect us. And Justin has certainly seen that.
Yeah, I think that this is something that this event has changed us not only for the last 10 years, but it'll continue to change our country and our world for probably our lifetimes. These situations in Iraq and Afghanistan and Pakistan will continue even once our soldiers leave. The threat of terrorism is a real thing that exists in the world. I've seen it firsthand. I've looked at Taliban fighters face to face. This is something that's not going to go away, and it's something we're going to have to live with for a very long time and figure out how to live and cope with it without losing too much of who we are as a country and as a world.
Now, Justin, your photos appear throughout the book, including the book jacket's cover. Is there any one photo that you took that appears in the book that you think tells the story of Flight 93 the best?
I think the cover photo to me was always a special photo. I think that the symbolism of the flag and the sunset, the site has the temporary memorial has always had a feeling there that drew me in, having been there on the day of 9/11 and continued going to the site for the last 10 years. There's something very interesting about the site that draws people from all over the world to stop by and stand in a field in rural Pennsylvania where there's not much to see. Up until now, there's not been monuments. There's been a small wall with mementos left by the visitors who come there, rocks, flags, hats, patches. The sunset shot, I think, it's a statement on that day and how it was a day that you know, the sun set on our country in one way, and when the next day on September 12th, when the sun rose, we started a new day in our you know, history, in our world.
Well, Mike, the book honors not only the Flight 93 passengers and crew, but also the members of the military who keep us safe. Can you tell us how they're recognized in the book?
Well, I think their stories and their sacrifices are included in the overall narrative of what happened that day and our response to it. And it is an important story that I think too many Americans feel disconnected from. We haven't reinstituted a draft. We still have an all-volunteer military, and so this tremendous sacrifice that we've seen over the last 10 years has been borne by a relatively small number of people. And Justin has met with quite a lot of them. I've met with a lot of them during the years, and we wanted to make sure that that was kept in the forefront when we were telling this story, because it is an important part.
All right, well, we should point out that a portion of the proceeds from Field of Honor, How Flight 93 Inspired a Nation, will be donated to the Flight 93 National Memorial. Mike Wereschagin and photojournalist Justin Merriman, thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.